Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And joining us this week is Viktor Didenchuk. Hey, Viktor. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Vasco. Glad to see you.
Glad to see you too, and looking forward to hearing your stories and learning about your experience. So Viktor began his career as a software engineer in the mid-2010s before he discovered a passion for coaching and facilitating value delivery. He currently serves as a Scrum Master at Lloyds Banking Group, the UK's largest retail bank, where he contributes to the Agile transformation of around 60,000 plus employee organization, navigating and sharing the challenges encountered. And that's what we will be doing here, sharing those challenges. So, Viktor, of course, that was a short intro. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
Yeah, thank you, Oscar. So that's very well said. Exactly. I started as a software engineer. Obviously, I was studying computer science, so ending up a software engineer was kind of an obvious choice, and most of my classmates did the same. But I believe after 2 years of making some progress, I realized that's not what I'm looking for. So, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm interested in tech and doing some programming is fun as well, but it's just not something I believe I can be a master of or achieve some pretty good level. So tried to look around, and being a Scrum Master sounded really all right. At my second company, I had a manager, CEO of the company. She was really kind to provide some sort of an opportunity for me. So when an opportunity arose, she was like, go on, let's try a few things. Show what are your ideas, and I tried. I had really big amount of support, and I'm really glad that I had this support from her and from my buddy manager at that time. Yeah, so basically we've started pretty much I would say as a team manager, but I treated myself as a Scrum Master always, and that's what I was heading to. And we pretty much had a kind of a transformation through the COVID. COVID started when I started being a Scrum Master. So it was an interesting journey. And since then, I kind of enjoy what I'm doing. It really helped me that when this opportunity was there, I did some pre-study. I'm really a big fan of doing some studying through certifications. And I like that Scrum.org specifically, it provides kind of certain paths to go through certifications. And when you go through it, you have an opportunity to actually learn and study all the new things. So before I started to do some real stuff, I had pretty extensive theoretical background. And it helped really, really a lot. So self-learning was a bit of interest in the topic, and much support from my coworkers.
Absolutely. And of course, self-learning is something we do all the time. And
yes.
Especially in moments when things don't go as we expect them. So, Viktor, the next question, of course, is about a difficult moment you had as a Scrum Master. So share that moment with us, share the context a little bit, and walk us through what was happening at that time, like, who you were talking to, what was happening. And then we'll dive into the details and the takeaways later. But share that story of a difficult moment you had as a Scrum Master with us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Through all my careers being a Scrum Master, the most difficult thing is to run retrospectives, probably, especially when you join a new team and you find lots of new people. And obviously, engineers are from their nature, they're more interested in details, they're more interested in real results. And when you talk about retrospective, it's something abstract. You're trying to get, thoughts, feelings, emotions, which is, of course, to a certain level, it's hard for some people. So usually running retrospective in a new context is a really hard challenge. So probably the biggest failure was for me is with one of my teams when I tried all this stuff. I did course on facilitation. I tried to do course to expand my knowledge in coaching at the time, but it was just doesn't work.
Can you tell us a moment that helps us understand what you mean by it didn't work? Like what were the things you were trying and how were they being received?
Yeah, so you basically join the retro, and whatever template you use, whatever technique, whatever liberating structure, people just do not open, people just do not share, people do not start conversation. And of course, there is one way to say that people are wrong or people incorrect, but this feeling is wrong. It is you who is failing and you who cannot find an approach. Yeah, so I was just like in a sea of misery. I would say that whatever I try, it doesn't work. So yeah, at one point I just realized that I ran out of ideas, and I started really honest conversation and kind of all cards open, all hands open. That, hey guys, I really do not know how to run this one. I out of I'm out of ideas. I do not know how to proceed, and why it is not working. And with a bit of coaching, of course, the magic silence. I think we were like without any sound for a couple of minutes. But after that, people started to share some thoughts. Of course, first people who at least said something, and then even the most shy started to share why they are not comfortable, why they think this is a useless opportunity, how to make it better. And we've gathered a couple of ideas that actually worked. So if before our sprints or 2 weeks sprints, we were having retrospective, so once in 2 sprints, which is all right. Currently, I'm a more fan of doing retrospective every week, no matter how long is your iteration. Of course, after you ship the product or you produce an increment, it's a good way to have a retrospective of everything. But the ongoing conversation is really important, and having this opportunity for ongoing conversation is a really good one. So this was what was one of the idea, that just let's have a conversation as we have a problem. So it was either retrospective once a week, or we've called them like immediately that we need to have a retro in this situation right now. It worked. Having a board which is instantly accessible. So I tend to create a template. For example, we start a sprint, I create a template and I put it somewhere for everyone to be accessible. So whenever they want, they can put things on the board. So, pretty much as in old times, that in the room there is a board and everyone can stick stickers on it. So it's a digital version of this board. And the third one is probably the format of retrospective. Again, we all know liberating structures. We all know probably glad met set or whatever idea. But what sometimes works for me and work for that team as well is to change a little bit context. So something interesting happened in the context of this team or organization, or I don't know, Halloween. Try to form it slightly a little bit across this.
Can you give an example of what you mean by that? Like when something interesting happened, like how would you then take it and help yourself, of course, setting up and facilitating the retrospective?
Yeah. So, for example, when there was a female championship, female football championship, obviously in UK football is a big thing, and even and female championships is also a big thing. It was a final between, I believe it was England and Australia. So it was like a big, massive event, and everyone was talking about it. So having a retrospective is with players, like who you associate yourself with, what is your position in this match, what did you like, what you didn't like, what would you change about strategy or whatever. So it's not about thinking about the game, but trying to think about the work or past sprint in a metaphor that are actually related to the game. It helps to enlighten some sparks that actually provide people an opportunity to think with some passion and maybe some interesting ideas. And while it is hard sometimes to think that I'm doing something wrong, people can be more open to say that our strategy do not allow us to win this game. So it's a kind of a trick to your mind, and it works pretty much for everyone. When you switch context and you do not think about code and and GitHub all the time. But if you switch it and try to form around another topic, but the same problem, sometimes it helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
And it also, the fact that you're focusing on metaphor, right? Like, the position in the field is a metaphor. The strategy in a football game is a metaphor for how we develop. And it is a team sport. Football is a team sport, just like software development. So that helps people get out of their, you mentioned it when you started, their very concrete and specific way of looking at their work, and helps them take a little bit of a step back and understand that better, perhaps with a little bit wider context than they would if they were thinking about, as you said, GitHub and Jira tickets.
Yeah, and it's a good addition. You mentioned about metaphor. So in coaching, it's not pretty much only about metaphors, but metaphor is a big thing in coaching, because when you observe how people say and what they mention, and sometimes they just create, an abstract structure, and you try to ask what is behind this structure, and then they try to expand it and actually find something which can be really insightful for themselves. So I would say it's kind of a coaching from the other perspective. You're not getting metaphors that are already there, but you're trying to create metaphors that help to expand the context.
Absolutely. And metaphors can be extremely powerful and productive when it comes to conversation. Thank you for sharing that, Viktor.
It's a pleasure.
Monday is about what we learned from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests helped their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.